My mother-in-law fell in love and provoked me. It was Tuesday morning when I woke up and realized that the bed was empty. Maria's things had disappeared. Her clothes that used to be strewn on the floor of the room, her jewelry box, and even her slippers. At first, I thought maybe she had an early meeting or something, but then I saw the note on her pillow. "Dear Pablo, I'm sorry, but I can't take it anymore. I tried, but I'm just not happy. I'm leaving you. My lawyer will contact you about the divorce. Please don't try to find me." Maria was gone. My wife, with whom I had lived for 7 years, had simply left. Tears filled my eyes, and a knot formed in my stomach. How could she do this to me? I couldn't see anyone at this moment. I just lay in bed remembering our relationship and wondering where we had gone wrong. The first year was pure happiness. Maria made me happier than I could have ever imagined, but gradually things started to change. The little annoying things she used to do didn't seem so cute anymore. Our date nights became less frequent. We stopped laughing together. We became more like roommates than lovers. I guess I didn't realize how bad things were getting. I should have paid more attention to her. I should have fought for her. My reflections were interrupted by a phone call. It was my mother-in-law, Isabel. "Pablo, is everything okay?" Maria just showed up at my house with her bags packed. She won't tell me what happened. Through tears, I explained what Maria had done, and I read her the note. Isabel was surprised. "I'm so sorry, Pablo. I had no idea she was so upset. I can't believe she could do something like this." We talked for almost an hour. Isabel was devastated for me. She had accepted me into her family from the first time she met me. She always said I was the son she never had. At the end of the conversation, she insisted that I stay with her for a while. "You shouldn't be alone at a time like this," she said. Her comforting words were the only solace I felt all day. I packed up and drove to Isabel's lovely bungalow on the OC Street. She welcomed me at the door with open arms, stroked my back, and I cried on her shoulder. All the emotions I had been holding inside me came out. "Let it out, my son," she whispered. "I've got you." She led me inside to the cozy living room where Maria and I had spent so many vacations and family gatherings over the years. But now the room, which used to be filled with laughter and conversations, was silent, except for my muffled sobs. In the days that followed, Isabel took care of me like no one else ever had. She tucked me into the guest bed every night after sharing our sadness at losing Maria. She cooked all my meals and made sure I ate. She let me vent and cried with me. Her love and care comforted my soul in ways I hadn't realized I needed. I ended up staying with Isabel for over 2 months. We easily fell into a routine. I helped her around the house with small tasks she could no longer do alone, like fixing dripping faucets and moving heavy furniture. She cooked me home-cooked meals and desserts that always filled the house with tempting aromas. In the afternoons, we watched soap operas together while she knitted baby blankets for her church group. Sometimes we just talked for hours, remembering her daughter and sharing what we wished we had said before it was too late. For the first time in years, I felt cared for. I felt important. Isabel also encouraged me to take better care of myself. She urged me to see a therapist to work through my feelings of abandonment and betrayal. She took me shopping for new clothes since I had left everything behind at Maria's house, and I started doing morning jogs around Isabel's neighborhood, enjoying the fresh air and beautiful scenery I hadn't noticed at home. With Isabel, I realized that it was possible to be happy again even without Maria. She taught me to forgive both Maria and myself and made me realize that this wasn't the end, that there were more good things and good people ahead. On the day my divorce was finalized, Isabel invited me to my favorite restaurant to have a good glass of red wine. She raised her glass and said, "Here's to new beginnings. You have a great life ahead of you." I smiled, believing that her words were true. I'd have to leave soon to find my own place, to face this lonely life, but I'd never be too far from my second mother, Isabel. I knew I'd always have a home with her, no matter where I was. She was my family now, too. Over time, my feelings for Isabel began to change. At first, I was just grateful that she accepted me, listened to me, and made me feel cared for. But the longer we spent together, the more I noticed little things, like the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled or how she hummed softly while cooking. I looked forward to our afternoons together on the couch, where our hands would casually touch as she knitted and I read the newspaper beside her. Sometimes she would affectionately stroke my hair or squeeze my shoulder as she passed by. I even woke up several times from dreams where I was excited and my heart was pounding frantically for her. I didn't know what to do with these new feelings. I dismissed them as loneliness and misplaced affection. After the divorce, Isabel was the only good thing in my life right now. It made sense to cling to her, but deep down, I knew it was more than that. The change happened gradually, but our relationship began to shift. Our goodnight hugs became longer, the compliments more frequent and flirtatious. We found excuses to touch each other casually, and Isabel reached for the salt during dinner, her chest lightly brushing against my hand. I tucked her hair behind her ear to keep it from falling into her plate. Between us, an undeniable energy grew. One night, we stayed up late watching movies and drinking wine. At one point, Isabel's head ended up resting on my shoulder, and it stayed there when the credits rolled at 2 in the morning. Neither of us tried to get up. I realized I was gently stroking her hair, and she was lazily drawing circles on my leg with her fingers. Finally, I gathered the courage to ask, "Isabel, what are we doing?" She looked up with an expression I couldn't decipher. "I mean, I know it's hard, but I can't deny my feelings anymore. I've tried, but being here with you feels right." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Pablo, I was hoping you'd feel the same way." "I do too." "Well, I tried to hide it. I know it seems fast, and people won't understand, but I've fallen in love with you." She paused, assessing my reaction. "I want to be with you. Screw society." A big smile spread across my face. "I want that too, Isabel." I hugged her in a passionate kiss, finally letting out years of tension. Butterflies fluttered in my stomach like I was a teenager again. We decided to keep our budding romance a secret until I sorted things out. The circumstances were complicated, but our love was real. We stopped hiding our affection at home, stealing kisses while cooking, falling asleep in each other's arms, taking long baths together where we talked and laughed like old friends. Behind closed doors, we grew closer and closer. Eventually, we told our closest friends and family, who reacted with varying degrees of surprise and confusion, but could also see how happy we were together. As a united front, we walked through the city hand in hand, cuddled in restaurants and cafes, and kissed at sunset like any other couple. We no longer had to hide or fear judgmental looks. That night, after a delicious dinner, Isabel surprised me by getting down on one knee in our cabin. "Pablo Espinoza, you're the love of my life. You make me happier than I could have ever imagined. Would you marry me?" With tears of joy, I replied, "Yes," and hugged her tightly. "There's nothing that would make me happier than being your husband." I had found my true life partner. When we returned from our happy trip, we started telling friends and family not only about our relationship, but also about our engagement. The reactions were diverse, but we stood firm. "I'm going to marry Pablo, and that's final," Isabel declared to anyone who opposed. Our love gave us a new confidence. Over time, people began to accept it. They saw what we already knew. We were meant to be together. On our wedding day, several months later, even Maria came to support us as we danced our first dance as husband and wife. I lovingly looked at a woman I never expected to see as my partner, but who truly was my perfect match. Against all odds, we found our happy ending, and our next chapter was just beginning. These were today's stories. I sincerely ask you to subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed it, so I can continue to upload more stories. It would help me a lot. If you watch the next video, we're sure you'll enjoy it. See you tomorrow on Reddit at the day.